Afternoon,
Mm.
Aftermarket Nation. It's Carm Capriato. It is 12 noon East Coast time. It is the aftermarketweekly.com live weekly show. It's such a fun show to produce. I always tell you that. It's actually a very unique automotive aftermarket resource, and we're live from the Remarkable Results Radio podcast studio. I call this a fun, fast-paced, informative show. And the bonus, not only do we have a great guest host each and every week, and we have a great one this week, we also do a live virtual tour. Anytime you show up and or you're hanging with us, you know, everyone, that you can say hello to us on social media, and we can actually see your comments here in the studio. Hey, Mike, I'd love to say hi
Hey,
to
Carm.
you. It's Mike
Hey, Carm.
Davidson. How are you, bud?
Hey, I'm good. It's a little cold in Arkansas. You know, us Southerners, we're not good at 25 degrees, but that's where we are today.
Yeah, you what? Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
hmm
you're colder than we are up here, but we're getting snow and you're not.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I get you. Hey, welcome. I got this really cool little homage to you coming up here. Mike Davidson's in the house.
In the
Ain't
house.
that cool?
Oh, that's
Glad
so
to
cool.
have you here, Mike.
Oh, always.
We got a great agenda coming up here. You're going to talk about leadership.
Mm.
We're also going to do a fortune, and we're going to do a shop tour. And the shop tour is going to be from Riverside Automotive in Red Wing, Minnesota. I'm sure Riverside Automotive rings a bell to many of you. That's my good friend Matt Fonslow's, where he's the shop manager and lead diagnostician. And I got a chance yesterday to get, do a test and see what's going on there. You're going to see a lot of really cool stuff here, Matt. So thank you for doing that for us. I don't have my producer today, so it may be a little clumsy, it may be a little sloppy, but here I am, and here we go. Today's trivia. In the early 1960s, GM was developing a new model that was originally called the LaSalle 2. When it was shifted away from Cadillac, what did it become? Interesting. You may not know, Mike, or maybe you do, but if you do, you could only try to guess, but don't tell anyone yet, because
Okay.
that's the surprise at the end.
Okay.
It's the
Okay.
surprise at the
Okay.
end.
I think I might know, but it would be just a guess, so I'll just wait.
No problem. Hey, if
Okay.
anybody, give us a check in with your city, give us a like, do a share. We'd love to hear your comments. Oh, by the way, as I am attempting to clumsily move through this show without my producer, and I've got to press all these buttons here today. Mike did a great episode with us on wage and hour compliance, and that was episode 466. Mike, I think you've been on the show, I think 5 times, and I no, 8 times. I'm sorry, 8 times. And you know what I meant to? I meant to bring the books that you wrote
Oh,
down here into the studio.
yeah. No worries. You've had a lot to manage this morning, and
It's been a really crazy morning. I'm
yeah.
surprised. Yeah, but anyway, you wrote a couple of great books, and hopefully you can mention them.
Yeah, and just real quickly on that note, there is a new opinion letter that came out today from the Department of Labor on paying piecework, which is another word for flat rate. And so you're going to want to find out that, or you can email me at miked@parkwayautomotive.net, and I can send it to you. I get those notifications for them because I have a sort of a working relationship. It's a friendly one with the Department of Labor. And so I just got an opinion letter today that will be very intuitive for shop owners to read and understand. It's like, I promise you, it's like a 3 to 5 minute read. It's not long.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I also see that was it the House that passed an apprentice bill? Did you hear about that?
I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, it's going to the Senate now for debate, and I don't know the details on it, but when I saw that news article, I was really happy to hear, because Mike and I hooked up years ago when you were talking about your apprentice program, and basically I called you Mr. Apprentice for all these years, and now there are other apprentice programs out there.
Yeah.
And Mike, Mike, I didn't tell you this, but Mike was so kind to come on to a Zoom meeting with the local Buffalo independent group a while back. And Mike, I am going to put that out as a podcast. It was an excellent discussion among peers, and you were there along with Pete McNeil. Let me see, what else do we need to talk about? One other thing. And let me see if I can, again, I'm doing all this inside the studio by myself. Latest episodes that recently came out today. Dr. Dave Wyman. If you've not listened to Dr. Dave Wyman on the show in the past, he's done one other episode with me. It was phenomenal, and it was on stress and managing and dealing with it. He's a psychologist, and I asked him if he'd come back and talk about holiday stress amid the pandemic. And again, this episode is phenomenal. This is the kind of episode that should go out to family, to friends, to peers inside your place. Let them all get a feel for how Dave suggests that we get through not only the holidays in typical stress fashion, because sometimes it could be tough, but on top of the COVID that is even making it worse for so many people. And we had Dave Hobbs last Friday on Comebacks and Tech Talks, and me and Dave are doing like a little series of stuff because Dave is such a cool and smart guy. Well, hey, I think as I continue to look through my notes, it is time, Michael, to have you come on and share with us. Recently, you got certified from John Maxwell.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, and it was a personal journey for me to really just continue to grow and get better at what I do. I don't remember much from my great grandfather, but I remember one thing he said to me, and he said that when you're through improving, you're through. And so that's been sort of a mantra of my life that I've even had to learn how to try to harness, because I can get, I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, we can get a lot of things going in a lot of different directions. And so it's something that I completed this year and am continuing to grow in. But the driving force behind like what's behind Mike Davidson and what keeps me up at night, that sort of thing,
sure,
is really what I've experienced for the last 23 years as a shop owner, and that is the if I can use the word burden, or the load that business owners carry. And I just have this motivation from wherever that I want to help carry that load for business owners. And I don't know whether it's just because of my life and what the industry has done for me personally, or just my understanding as a business owner and know what the load is, and me believing the ability to help business owners carry the load. And that was the motivation behind the apprentice program all the way back to 2010, when I first, said, I got to do something. And 2012, when we developed an apprentice program, and then 2016, when it got approved by the DOL, that was what was driving behind that. I saw the need in the industry and said, we got to do something. And then when it came to wage and hour compliance and writing that book, that's what was driving it, was like, how can I help? Because there's so much for us business owners to manage and the load we have to carry. It's like, how can I help them understand wage and hour, for instance, and not feel like they're going to go to jail or have a multi-$1,000 fine because I thought I was doing right in the way I was doing things, but turns out I wasn't, and a 50-cent mistake turns into $62,000 in fines. And so that's what drove that. That's what motivates me on sort of a regular basis. And even so, as we talk about, as you guide us here on today's subject, leadership, it's the basic thing that's driving me to do what I do. And I think you may be mute, Carm. I can't hear you now.
That's true. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know better, Mike, and occasionally it shows the humanness, my
Yeah.
human side.
Yeah.
Take us down a little leadership. Give us a few minutes. Give us at least one point that I believe we as the industry could take a tip and actually implement it.
So as I mentioned, when I think about the load that we have to carry, one of the great benefits within your industry, and I want you to think about this for a minute. Most people know of Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is an organization that's actually a leadership development organization that happens to sell chicken. All right, that's what they do.
Yep, you're
All
right.
right, so I want you to think really outside the box for a minute and say, what if my business was a leadership development organization that happened to repair cars? What kind of people would I attract? And how could I help them grow in their leadership? Because that's what Chick-fil-A does on a regular, consistent basis. So I take the 23 years experience that I've had as a shop owner and the things that I've learned and implemented and I just bring all this into this one thing. And I came up with the word, and is the word leadership. And of course, John Maxwell happened to have written a book about leadership, but he's talking about your mindset as a leader being able to make the changes along the path, along the river of leading your company very quickly. And that's not what I'm talking about. And because I'm associated with them and I'm a certified teacher, trainer, and coach with them, I got permission from them to even use the name. And so we're perfectly legal in all that sense. But the word leadership for me and what I want to bring to the aftermarket is how do we help you as a business owner? Again, my motivation is helping you carry the load. And that is if you have other leaders in your organization that have the ability to make decisions without you, that's going to help carry your load. But they have to grow in that area. They can't just because they are that they can do that. It's like, how do we grow them in their role as a leader, from the janitor to the technician to the advisor to maybe a manager or even the office manager? How do we grow them in their position so that they can begin to help carry the load for you? And I say it like this: How do you structure your business in such a way that give your people an opportunity to fail? Now, think about that. Think about how much you've learned by failing. You've had to have that opportunity to fail so that you could learn and you could improve and you could get better.
I'll bet you everything I know, Mike, came from failure somehow.
Yeah, yes. And me too, Carm. And so how does the business owner structure his business in such a way that gives his staff carefully done an opportunity to fail so that they grow in their role and their leadership, even if it's leading themselves? Because maybe it's that. Maybe they're not going to be the manager, but maybe from that experience, you discover someone within your organization that one day will own your business. Because one of two things happens to your business. You either sell it or you close it. There's no other options. One of those two things happen. And so what if we can develop your organization so that you could identify over time someone there that could actually take it? Yeah. And so I take you on a journey through leadership to first setting up that whole idea of leadership. And then we want to bring people into consistent training to grow them in their leadership. So that's what leadership is about. That's where we're going to do, and we're putting that together right now. It's going to be a 10-week study for shop owners, for them to understand how do I make it happen in my organization, and then we actually get into the training with the individuals in your organization. So
I totally love where you went with this. I kept hearing the word delegate in there. I know you work from home a lot, and it's probably because you've done the leadership.
Yeah. So I now work 2 days a week. And then just last week, we're talking last Monday, I signed the papers with a guy that's been working for me for 8 years, so that over the next 7 years, he becomes the owner of this company, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long did that take? You got 7 before, 7 after, 14 years.
Yeah.
Well, until I gave him an opportunity to fail, did I see him grow? And then most importantly, this is so important in a transition of any type of succession you put into place. The people that work for you right now, would they be willing to work for the new owner? Well, you got to figure that out. And that doesn't happen because you sell your business today and someone walks in and says, hey, I'm the new owner.
All right. All right. You know what happens? I listen and get inspired by leaders like you. And then I think of 3 more episodes you and I could do to share this, to share these concepts and ideas. And a big takeaway is not only have you developed a succession plan, and congratulations on signing those papers, Mike, but you just opened up, I think, the eyes of so many that say that there's a timeline here. You're recruiting, you're looking, you're grooming someone, and then all of a sudden you recognize that you need to start talking to that individual. Then you have to worry about negotiating the plan and the program, and then you have more years in front of you. Now, if I know you've structured the deal so that he could own it in 6 years, not 7, I bet.
Yeah, he could do it really whenever he wants to, but the 7-year plan allows me to sort of stay in there in a safety net for him as he grows more and more into the role, because he's really already been in that role as a manager, and everybody here loves him and works for him more than they work for me. So all I get to do is just help him with those things that he still needs understanding on, the numbers and other, and just I'll continue to be a consultant for him for probably years to come, because we're such good friends now, right? I mean, we've worked together now, cool. And it's been good. It's been a good
inspiring Mike, thank you. Please hang out as we get ready to get our shop tour going. I just want to let you know, Aftermarket Weekly will become a podcast real soon. So every episode that we do in this video format, we're also going to put out in an audio format. What I think is so interesting is to be able to hear the virtual tour someday of the shop. But the beauty of it is to get a monologue like yours out into the motoring public, while, again, I think podcasts have more access right now than having to stop and watch a video while you're driving and doing other chores. So thank you for that. It was wonderful. Let's mention something that all the episodes are archived on aftermarketweekly.com, and you can open them up and you can binge on them all the time. We also are, let me show you something new. Let me, again, I'm producing this myself, so bear with me on the buttons.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Thank you. So thank you. Yeah. Coming up tomorrow, we're doing a Carmcast on why trade associations are important, sponsored by Shopware. I think many of you know Jamie Carlson, Scott Brown, Bryn Klein, all shop owners, and Dave Tulkin from Shopware will be with us. And what else is going on that I want to share with you? Oh, here it is. It's this Friday. I believe you know these guys.
I do.
I know you know. Chris Monroe, Joe Marconi, Kevin Vaught, creating the right environment for shop efficiency, Town Hall Academy 201. You guys are all in the elite group together, right?
Yes. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
How cool is that? Okay, time for our fortune cookie. Here it is. It's the fortune of the week. And let's see if there's something absolutely worthwhile to talk about.
Yeah, without a producer.
Without a producer, this has been very clumsy, right, Matt? Yeah. I see Matt. Matt, I can see your face looking at me like, come on, Carm. The Tao that can be described is not the everlasting Tao. Mike, what's Tao? T-A-O? Do you know?
No.
The Tao that can be described is not the everlasting Tao. Maybe you know, Matt. We'll have you on here in a minute. Well, that's not one of the best fortunes we've had in the last 30 weeks. Yes, I will tell you that.
Yeah, it probably has something to do with not having a producer.
You're absolutely right. Hey, sure. Are you ready to go on a shop tour, man?
Man, I can't
you ready?
Wait to see this.
Let's go on a shop. Hey, there he is, Matt Fonslow, great friend, great contributor to the podcast. Oh my God, Matt, I think you've done more shows than me.
It's probably getting close.
Very good.
Trying to catch up.
I know. Riverside Automotive, Red Wing, Minnesota. Matt, I saw this tour yesterday, and I was pretty flabbergasted by some of the stuff because Matt is the quintessential geek, one of the the high geeks in our industry, and he's going to show you some of his geek stuff. Besides a tour of, I call this the shop that never ends. The shop that never ends. You're gonna have to figure out what I mean by that.
It's like the TARDIS.
That's right. So Matthew, me and Mike just can't wait.
And the Tao, I think TAO, the Tao is there's Taoism as a religion, and it's kind of almost like the Force. We'll call it the Force.
Oh my God, the Tao that can be described as not the everlasting Tao. Ah, I get that now.
So, well, okay. I think that's an okay reference. And then Mike, none of this was scripted. Like, we didn't talk about this beforehand, but Mike has kind of set this up a little bit. Kind of something I wanted to bring up is the shop, as it is now, is nothing like what it was when we moved in, and it's nothing like what I think it's going to, where we're heading. So we're kind of in that process of constant improvement. So I'll just switch the camera around here
and try to give us a landscape view. If you see if your phone will flip sideways, Matt. If you just perfect, Matt. I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
So this would be the front entrance.
Got it.
And we're different now because of COVID. So we got this little station here.
Yeah.
Where we're asking people to wear masks, and we got the sign on the door. We got hand sanitizer and masks if they don't have one. And this is the owner's office right to the right. So when he's in there, he can see people as they walk through and say hi. And then normally we'd have more tables and chairs. We kind of like this here, and it seems like clients really like it. They can sit there with their computers, free Wi-Fi, of course. They can work. Play games. A lot of that stuff's put away. Couch. This is the kids' nook, usually loaded with a few shelves with toys and activities and books and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. Some people bring the kids just so they can hang out in here. So pretty important to have something set aside, a little area for the kids / families, right? Kind of cater to them. For the people that want to stay isolated, we got a spot way over here for them. And then our coffee and refreshment nook.
I like it, Matt.
Really
it's
nice.
Very impressive. Huge. Did you have to make it that big, or was this room always available?
Yeah, this room was always available. This used to be, all this in here used to be a big bookshelf. The bookshelf came out to about here. So they're really deep shelves. There was books, magazines, model cars, stuff like that.
Matt, before COVID, did you have a lot of waiters?
Yeah. I think the shop we moved from did not have any waiting area.
Okay.
And ownership's
so you went
argument
from none
was,
to huge.
Yeah.
That's
ownership's argument was people usually don't wait. So why have a waiting room? Well, they're not going to wait if there's nowhere to wait, right?
Yeah.
And now that we have an area, it can get pretty stacked. A lot of people would choose to sit here for an hour or two rather than get dropped off in town or something like that, because there's a certain comfort level.
Well, I think the client comes in and says, "This is a place to get car repair."
Yeah, right.
That is like the biggest compliment we can get.
Yeah.
By far, somebody poking their head in and going, is this Riverside Automotive, or do you guys fix cars here? Seriously, that is the best compliment we could get.
Absolutely. I can
This
see
is our
why.
front counter. Normally our customer service representative Sarah's sitting there. We got the bulletproof glass here for if I have to talk to customers. Got a little bit of a blockade here.
Yeah, that's smart.
Customers ignore.
Yeah.
And then that's Mark, our service advisor.
Hey, Mark.
And then something we didn't have before was a customer restroom
Wow.
that employees don't use. And I think clients really like that. It's got that look, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, you don't have a tech, even not on purpose, they make a mess. And it's harder to keep clean when you got so many people using it. Here we kind of got a break room.
Okay.
With a stove and oven, microwave. There's utensils and stuff. And the little more techie stuff is my growing, I guess we'll call it module.
Hey, Matt.
Work area.
Matt, let's save this till the end. Okay. I want to see the rest of the shop because I want Mike to take a really careful look at what's on that bench, Mike. Because I was just blown away when I saw that yesterday.
I was also gonna. We have another restroom over here, but remember, I used to have internet issues.
Yeah. Early
on, so I got upset and I took care of that, and I redid our entire shop network.
Wow.
Where now we have ubiquity system and access points throughout the shop.
Got it.
Now so that I've said that,
this is the shop that never ends. The shop that never ends. Watch this now.
So this is kind of my area, and I would say this is a fairly good representation of my days. This is a 67 Rolls Royce.
Oh, wow.
And Volkswagen Jeep. This Jeep came from another shop. They drove it in for an oil change, and it hasn't moved since. I got my ADAS calibration system.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a work in progress. So when we started out, none of this shelving was here. And we've added shelving, and now I'm going to add more and more toolboxes under here. I'm probably going to get rid of this toolbox. Add more counter space, more storage. This is kind of my key cutting area. And then port, fuel injector, flow bench, and cleaner. We really don't use it a whole lot for cars. I recently had a Honda that helped me diagnose that the aftermarket injectors, although by application were correct, they flowed about 25% less than they should have. That would have been a tough call to make without that tool. And
there's an impressive bench.
Jeff Buckley, I watch his videos, and then it causes me to spend money.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. By the way, Mike, don't you love the lighting?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, it is so well lit.
This used to have a drop ceiling. This summer, we took the drop ceiling down and put in this infrared heater, and then upgraded the lighting. So the lighting wasn't horrible in here. It was all fluorescent, but we had a drop ceiling. So the lighting wasn't horrible. It was a lot, maybe more yellow. And then we put in LEDs. And that was probably the biggest first steps we made to the shop were the lighting. So this used to be a dungeon. This area of the shop was a dungeon by far. We had those big, I think what we call multi-gas lights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You turn them on, they take 5 minutes to really get going. And we put in the first generation LEDs. They're squares, and they hung from the ceiling a little bit. And this became the brightest space in the shop. So then you have to start upgrading the lighting in all the other areas.
Yeah, right.
Look
at this area here.
Never ends.
Was the brightest in the shop. It had compact, the CCFLs. They've all been upgraded to LED.
Hey, Matt, what is this? What is the ceiling actually made of?
What this
is that ceiling
Oh
metal?
my God! It is a flywheel grinder.
What's that?
A flywheel grinder?
Yes, sir. Parts cooker or automatic parts washer that used to get used all the time. Hardly gets used now. This is all the boss's stuff. Don't get me going on that. Then it's kind of the tire area. These will be eventually moving out of here. We'll get a hoist in here and, you know, kind of aimed at doing tires and such.
A lot going on at Riverside.
Our undercar specialist.
Wow.
Alignment tech. And then this is kind of, I think, where the rest of the shop is heading, where, you know, we got the lighting, but the epoxy coated floors. We recently upgraded alignment systems to the Hunter Elite. But I think this is where the rest of the shop is heading. You know, it's just like incremental, making improvements as we can.
Yeah.
And as they make sense.
Take us back to that workbench. I want Mike to see what toys you have there.
You name it. Actually, I know I don't have enough. I need more.
We always need just one more. Just one more toy. Just one more.
Yeah, this never stops at one.
Yeah.
Man, I see you can get your you can get your exercise just walking around.
Yeah, that was about 5,000 steps. Yeah, this is kind of my soldering area. Got a cluster that doesn't power up.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure that out, and then getting more and more opportunities to. I think the technical term is virginize used modules, so that the module itself, or else the vehicle thinks that it's a new one off the shelf.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more common where either modules are not being made anymore, or they're very hard to find, and you can find used ones, but they're not plug and play. It's one exhaust gas analyzers, and
so there's nothing, Matt, nothing you guys can't do there. And I know there's a lot of shops in the area that bring you their troubled vehicles, right?
Yeah. This is one. I think there's a couple outside. You know, some of it's a lot of it's training. Don't get me wrong. It really is. And then a lot of it is the tooling, the tooling investment. We got our 1234YF machine. And then I got two 134A machines.
A lot going on at Riverside. Matt, we're running long, but I want to thank you so much. It was a great tour. Mike, any questions for Matt?
Yeah, I was wondering, in a couple of those rooms, what was this? What was the ceiling made of? It looked like just a reflective metal. It's just LEDs.
Yeah, it's just tin.
Oh, it is. Okay.
The white tin.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it sure made helps in the reflective of the light down into the shop, which I'm sure brightens it up considerably.
I think what will happen eventually is a lot of the tin on the walls are probably going to get replaced to help brighten it up even more.
Oh yeah.
And then as we epoxy coat the floors, that'll brighten it up even more and make it that much easier to keep clean and just have a more clean look. Period.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so how many bays and what's the square footage of your shop area, Matt?
We're just a tick over 10,000 square feet.
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
And then the bays, you know, honestly, I would say 12.
Okay.
You know, and that's kind of cheating a little bit. You know, my area alone, you could argue 5 flat spots. I can get 5 vehicles in there.
Yeah.
Eventually, I hope to get a full rise scissor lift in there.
Okay.
So that I don't have to wait for spots to open up on the other side to do my under car stuff. If I have to
Yeah.
look at transmission type stuff or ABS or.
Oh, it was great. It was good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know, I've known Matt for a lot of years now, and I finally got a chance to see where he works and what he does, and all
that's
the
really
fun
cool.
toys. So what happens, Matt? You just go to, you know, you just send a wish list up to and you just get what you want.
Sometimes it works that way. I make the sales pitch. The key programming stuff, the key cutting stuff was something I tried to run up the flagpole, was met with great resistance. So then I just bought it. And I believed in it so much that we're doing enough keys. I don't want to make it sound like we're doing so many, but it did enough where the owner reimbursed me everything.
Cool. And I did a key show 2 weeks ago, a Carmcast key show. And when someone saw that advertisement for the show, I got an email or a text, I don't remember what it was, and that email said, "Oh my God, I do $400,000 a year in keys, a shop," because he had it. He had all the certifications, and even the locksmiths in the area didn't want to touch automotive. He was the go-to guy.
So, yeah, and I think you and I were talking about doing a part 2, but that was one thing I did before I bought the equipment. Was I called the 2 local locksmiths, and basically asked for their blessing, and both of them said, "I want nothing to do with cars," so I get all their referral work.
Great stuff, Matt. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
hey, next
really
week,
good.
everyone, Andy Bizub from Midwest Performance Chicago is going to be my guest host, and we're going to go out to Truckee, California, up in the mountains, and see this really unique place from Bill Greeno. And let me see, trivia. In the early 60s, GM was developing a new model. It originally was called the LaSalle 2. When it was shifted away from Cadillac, what did it become? The Buick Riviera.
Yep. Hey, I knew it was Buick, but I didn't know. Yeah, I knew it was Buick.
Cool. Well, good. Hey, I loved the Riviera. Ever since I could think I could afford to buy a Riviera, I realized that I couldn't, because every year they kept coming out with a more expensive item. So it was the Toronado or the Riviera was something I always wanted to own, and I could never get there.
What wasn't it? Wasn't that their first front wheel drive car, the Riviera?
I think.
Is that right?
They were front wheel for sure, but was it their first? That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone in the audience can
take a run at it.
Support that for us. Yeah.
1960. Wow.
So, hey, thanks for being here, everyone. Always great. And don't forget, the podcast, Aftermarket Weekly, will be becoming a podcast, hopefully in a few weeks, as we have been stacking up interviews so that we all can see. And Matt Fonslow, Riverside Automotive, Mike Davidson, Parkway Automotive. Hey, guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Carm.